Welcome to the life of Styn. Today we're going to talk about how to discover what's true for yourself. But before we get into that, I want to say a few things. So I spent some time uploading my previous videos onto my streaming service for my podcast, but it's been a while since I've actually shot those videos, and eventually I'm gonna want to reshoot them or update versions just because of the amount of insights that I've accrued since shooting those videos on those topics. But I'm still gonna keep them up because even though it's been like a while since I've posted them, they're still part of like my journey and some of the things that I shared back then. Um, Another thing I was going to say is that I'm going to be trying a new format. So, usually I have so many things I want to say, especially on whatever topic we're going to be talking about. And I'm like, well, my mind's just going to pull it out when I need to. But that is just not the case. I have so many things that I want to share, but maybe I don't get to by the time the video's over. So I made sure I have kind of like a manuscript wrote out so that I can get all the points down that I wanted to get down. So with that being said, let's get started. In this work, we need to be very careful because we don't want to take anything I say here for granted. And I don't want you to blindly believe me in all of this stuff either. We want to deconstruct the mind and then discover what's true for yourself. Not what someone else said, but what you truly believe. So, a lot of the big issues in the world come from blind belief. Just because an authority figure or someone with credentials says something well, and you can kind of see that in history that is very much the case. Now, there's a big disclaimer that I want to put here before I go any further, and it's I have no authority or credentials. I'm just a guy posting information that may or may not be true and may not have substance on the internet, all right? I'm not a life coach or a therapist, and anything I say or advise here is up to you to intuit and to use. Like, I'm not responsible for your interpretation because a lot of the times the way I mean to show things, it can be interpreted wrong, and then you might use that to maybe fulfill or manipulate, or you can kind of see where I'm going there. So you need to be very careful. And then that's also why I stress commenting and reaching out to me so that you can gain a clear and accurate truth for yourself. So big thing to discuss is what is truth? How can we apply it? Is truth relative or is it absolute? Also, what does it mean to have your own truth? So the way I want to explain truth is that truth is that which is the case. So right now I'm talking and you're listening, that is the case. So in its own way, that is true, right? So when we want to discover what is true, we got to kind of conduct our own little experiment, not just believe credible sources on their experiments and what they've done and decided what's true. It's did you go and discover that for yourself, or did someone with a big name or big credentials do that and now it's widely accepted, so now we just believe it. So you can kind of tell that believing someone else's truth doesn't really amount for much and there's not a lot of substance in it. And in this instance, it kind of shows you how fragile beliefs are and how they don't really hold much, but they do dictate your perspective and how you see the world. Now, no matter how false or true, it feels very true for you. Just like the man who believes in God and the man who doesn't share one thing in common. They both believe their truths are true. And go figure that they're very biased towards that. Now, I want to go kind of deep into relative versus absolute. But I'm going to shoot a separate video specifically on relative truth versus absolute truth. But for right now, I'm just going to give you a very simple example for you to ponder. So now if I say, hey, the sky is blue. Well, is that true or is that false? Well, you'd be like, well, it's true. I'm like, okay, but what about at night? At night, it's not blue. Okay, so that's relatively truth. So the sky is blue during the day, but at night, it's not. So then that would give you an example of what a relative truth is. And now, obviously, there's a lot of nuance to go into to really discover what absolute truth is. But for example, an absolute truth wouldn't be what is the color of the sky, blue or black. It's that there is a sky, just that is the case, that there is a sky. That's more of an absolute truth than the relative of the color of the sky. So, anyways, I hope that you can see up to this point just how much you dictate what the world looks like, but not actually what the world is. So maybe if the world's ugly and rotten, it's not that it actually is, it's that you currently believe from your observation in your current worldview that you don't like what you see. Crazy how some people can see the universe as beautiful and others see it very disgusting. Well, what's true? Well, both is, obviously. But what you directly experience is more true for you than anything else. We project ourselves on reality and then say that that's what reality is. Now, why does any of this matter? You might just think, this is dumb philosophy, mental masturbation. Like, why even go this deep into it? Because how's that going to help me change my life? Or, help me see the bigger picture? But actually, everything I say and will say in future videos, no matter how surface level or not, is that these things can be very practical to your everyday life. Because obviously, you want happiness, you want success and peace. But usually your way to obtain that are skewed. We're chasing things, chasing pleasures and success and all of these things, and then we end up kind of not making those changes, or even after we get those things, they don't fulfill us. So if we want to make big positive changes in our life, we better know how the world works and how the psyche works, the stuff that they don't teach you. Because if you know how the game works, especially the mind, playing it is easy. So really, it's just one of those things that it helps to open up your mind a little bit and kind of see, maybe, especially if you have a very negative outlook on life, or maybe you don't like life, to look at all of these things. Because obviously what we want to do is we want to break down the mind, break down the psyche, and build something with a very strong foundation, something that can really not just get stuff done in life, but enjoy life. So, honestly, I think that's all I got to say for today, just to kind of help you see maybe an avenue of life you didn't see before. But for conclusions and just ending, remember everything's going to be interconnected in this work. Everything I say, from the beginning of these videos to the very end, in the surface level and the deepest, is that all of it is going to be deeply connected. And it's not going to be until later, or the further that you go down development, that you kind of realize that that is the case. Because the most surface level stuff, the deeper stuff, we aren't just trying to improve our lives per se, but we're also trying to understand what the fuck's going on. And remember, all the advice and information I give here are just tools and theories and concepts. So whether it's to teach you how to meditate or self-reflect, introspect, or I'm just giving you information on how to discover what's true for yourself in your direct experience, because honestly, that's pretty much what happens. Is you get all this information piled up, and then it's your job to filter through, see what has credit, what doesn't. And so just remember, all of these things are just tools, theories, and concepts. It's not to help you build a stronger worldview. It's so that you can kind of take down your worldview and see what the world's really about and get a bigger picture understanding. So it's up to you to actualize these things and not get so caught up in the tools and information. Like I said, find out what's true for you. Does it resonate with you, the information you're being told? If it does or it doesn't, then why not? Or why does it? Because the mind is so tricky. It tells you things to get its own way. So remember, a radically open-minded and awareness, those things can take you places that doing can. That's all for today. Comment down below, subscribe, hit the bell, check the socials and Patreon if you want, all of those things. Just because even if this video is not for you, maybe you think it's for a friend of yours, and send it to that friend if that's the case. But if you're on a podcast service, You can find the video versions on YouTube and vice versa if you're on YouTube. So you can find me on most of the major services for podcasts like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of that good stuff. So thank you. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one.